You're listening to Edge Radio TV. The views and opinions expressed in this program are that of the host or guests, and not the Edge Radio Network or its advertisers or affiliates.
Welcome, my Edgy Entrepreneurs. I'm Jen Coleman-Ayers, your host, and welcome to the Edgy Entrepreneur Show. I have my special guest here today. This is Regina Walker, and Regina Walker is, a woman that we all need to know and have in our back pocket at this point, especially. She is National Literacy Campaign is her gig, and she's here to talk all things finance with us. So welcome, Regina. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. Well, I'm excited to actually be here today. When I got the call, I was like, how did y'all get my number?
I'm resourceful, girl.
I know, they're very resourceful. I guess it's good to have your information online, so on social media.
Yes, it is.
But my name is Regina Walker, and I'm actually from a small town of Shepherd, Texas, so just north here of Houston. But I have been in part of this financial literacy campaign for the last 6 years, and I've loved every minute of it. But my background actually is banking and healthcare. So I was in that industry for about both industries for about 14 years total. So
yeah, that was an interesting conversation. I was like, okay, I was reading your bio and you went from MBA to this, and now you're just really passionate about educating people on finances and putting their money where it needs to go so it can work for them. Yes,
that is the main goal through our financial literacy campaign, which launched actually in January of 2016. I started in 2015, and then January 2016 we launched our national financial literacy campaign, and our goal then was to educate 1 million families by the year 2020, which we did that. So July 2020 we hit our million, but now we have a even bigger goal to educate 30 million families by the year 2030. So we have, a huge task ahead of us, but I know through our organization, World System Builder, we will be able to do that because we're here in the U.S. and Canada. So there's no limit to who we're able to help. It's just, if you want to be helped, contact us. Right? We're ready to help you.
And that's the thing is, we were talking money. Money is such a hard conversation for people to have. There's so much emotion that seems to be attached to our dollars and how they run our life, really.
Yes, and what I find is that people are afraid of being judged about the choices they may have made in the past that have put them in, different positions. But I let people know, hey, it's a judge-free zone. I don't have any room to judge you. I'm just here to try to help you and guide you. And that's
true. I didn't even, when we were talking off stage before we went on, I didn't even think about that aspect of finances. But I know personally, I'm like, I've made some bad investments, y'all. And we're not talking just relationships.
Those two.
But I have. I have made some not really wise investments based on what other people were telling me.
Yes. And they tell you what they did, which could have been good for them, but they don't know your entire situation.
And you're probably not going to tell them because you're embarrassed.
Yeah, you don't want to tell them your entire situation. But if you get with a financial professional, they're licensed to be able to help you, guide you through that process. And you want to get with a licensed professional because there's many people who can tell you things about finance and other things like that. Like I've seen many people post things on social media that don't have any kind of license behind their name, but they're giving you financial advice. So you want to make sure that that person is licensed and understands the things that is going on in your life that can really help you.
So let's talk about your life at the moment. I'm like, guys, we're on the back end of 2020 and going into 2021 is still an interesting journey, that we're on. And I've talked to quite a few people that they're struggling in their finances.
Yes.
They're struggling in they're really kind of even in the situation of, do we pay our mortgage or do we pay our car note?
Yes. Yeah.
So
a lot of people are in that situation, especially from COVID. A lot of companies are shutting down. Like I just saw Fry's, is closing all their stores.
Oh, wow.
So many companies are going bankrupt right now. So I always tell people jobs are not loyal to you. They're loyal to their bottom line. So you always need to have some type of backup plan, some type of savings set aside. And through our, we have a book called Saving Your Future, which the title itself tells you what it's going to save your future really when it comes to finances. But it's a short read, but it really makes it's so easy that we have kids that are, whose parents are in our business who can read this book and understand and be able to articulate it. But it tells you that you really need to understand for yourself the things that you need to do for your money, but also making sure to have an emergency fund, especially, like with COVID, so many people were laid off and they didn't even have, money set aside to pay their rent for the next month and all these other things like that. And, the $600 or $1,200 that we got from the government, what is that really going to do for you? And, and you only got those one time and that was it.
Right.
So you really have to do the things for yourself. We can't depend on the government. We can't depend on our employer because they're looking at their best interest, not our best interest.
Right.
So we need to do what's best for ourselves.
So that being said, have to do it for ourselves. So what do you say for somebody who is, say they were working, at a loyal job and here they are, but they're just making it by on their paycheck. Like they would love to set aside a slush fund so you can plan ahead. And if something does happen, you've got 2 months that you don't have to stress about while you're looking for something else, but you don't have it.
Yeah.
How do you find that money? How do you help?
So through our organization, we actually have free finance. Free. People love that word free, but the thing is that people discount the word free because they think it doesn't have any value when it comes at no cost.
That's so
but
true.
But these workshops truly are life changing when you implement. So we have a series of 4 workshops that literally talk about every area of financial literacy, so of finance, personal finance. And so one of our workshops in this instance is called Increasing Cash Flow and Debt Management, workshop number 1. And with a person with that says, I'm living check to check, there is a way for them to be able to find money. Like every person that has attended our workshop 1 has found $50 to $100 that they didn't even know that they had by just understanding that there's things that they can cut out.
Right.
And there's things that you really don't have to do on a regular basis. I think what COVID has taught us, you don't have to go out to eat every single day. You can save more money by cooking at home, and all those other things like that. So there are many ways for us to start saving. But if you sit down and look at, your true spending habits and track them, you really understand that you're spending your own money, your retirement, and most people don't even know that just saving $10 a day is, $300 a month. And most people's like, I can save $10 a day, but
when you look at $300
but when you think about it, at the end, we really don't save it because we're spending $10 a day going out to eat or doing other things. But $10 a day over a 30-year period at 8% interest is almost $500,000. So how many?
Let's do the numbers on that one again. No, I mean really. Let's do the numbers on that one again.
$10 a day.
So we're saying $10 a day.
$10 a day over a 30-year period.
So $10 a day for 30 days is $300, and then
you did that consistently.
Now, where are you putting that?
Well, you need to. So the interest rate I said is 8%. So if you average 8%, you're going to be at close to $500,000 in 30 years. But how many people do you know?
And that's if you don't touch it.
That's if you don't touch it. Yes. Just think of it as a retirement.
Yes, it's retirement.
You're not supposed to touch it. But you think about how many people have worked 30 years that don't even have $500,000 saved.
No.
So it's really about the interest. Like our money has muscle, but we need to learn how to work that muscle.
I like that.
So I learned that from one of my other business partners. She always uses that phrase: your money has muscle. But the muscle is the interest rate, and many of us are like losing when it comes to the interest rate of our money.
Yes,
like we're getting less than 0.5%. When there's many places that we can save that can give us 5, 7, 8% return, but we don't even know where they are,
right?
Because we don't know who to ask, or we're afraid to ask. the right
Yes.
person to tell us what we need to do.
Well, and you think, okay, well, here I am. I'm in this situation. Who do I talk to?
Yes.
You know, so then okay, well, I guess I'll ask my parents. But
yes,
do
that's
they have
normally to go to.
$500,000 in the bank, guys? Let's have that conversation. So no, we don't
they
always want to
don't.
ask our parents because
No.
they're not. There are some, but
And so
really,
typically we ask our peers or, or somebody that we feel that, like that we look up to or something like that. We'll ask them. But truly, if you get with a licensed professional, they can truly guide you through that process.
Yes.
And they're going to work in your best interest to make sure that you're doing the right things. And the beauty about our workshops is that you're going to get the education, and then you're able to sit down with us to see the things that you need to do. But the beauty about it is you already know what you really need to do. You know what you're
Right.
missing. So it's just us helping you, guide you through that process. And we don't even charge for our services. We don't charge for the workshops. We don't charge. The biggest investment you have is your time. And is it worth it?
Absolutely. Yes. It really is worth your time.
Yeah.
And that is what my next question was going to be, is like, how do they find you, like, when they need to get and talk to a professional? Like, they don't necessarily want to do the workshop, but they want to have somebody to sit down. So we'll go over that whenever we come back from our break. You guys, thank you so much for tuning in to the Edgy Entrepreneur on Edge Radio TV, and we'll be right back.
Edge Radio TV is holding auditions for new show hosts. Are you a subject matter expert, professional, influencer, book author, thought leader, or business owner with an educational or motivational platform? Then we want to meet you. Send a link of some of your work to edgeradio20@gmail.com and be sure to put audition in the subject line. Join the Edge Radio TV family. Edge TV, because truth still matters.
The Natural Nation Network is really about taking control of your health physically, spiritually, emotionally, even intellectually, because there's so much out there in misinformation. There's a lot of people now that are suffering from all sorts of diseases that they really wouldn't have to suffer for if they had better information. And that's what we're here to do. Provide information that can save lives.
The mind and the body are totally connected.
Health can be really serious, and sometimes we just have to lighten it up a little bit while we're still providing substantive information.
And my sort of mantra on the salsa dance floor is kind of similar. I tell somebody, if you make a mistake twice, it becomes a move. Okay,
Tune into Natural Nation every Tuesday at 11 a.m.
Welcome back, my edgy entrepreneurs. You're watching the Edgy Entrepreneur Show. I'm your host, Jen Coleman-Ayers, and we're continuing with my special guest, Regina Walker. And we were talking before the break about where they can find you, and that your services, you actually offer your services at no charge.
No charge.
So they can contact you.
Yes.
And then in the break, we were saying, the classes and the workshops you were talking about beforehand, even, everything is moved online, guys.
Yes.
You don't have an excuse now.
None.
Everything's online.
None.
So they just have to get in touch
Yes.
and log on to Zoom, is it personalized?
It is. So we have them actually 7 days a week, 2 to 3 times a day. So when it comes to the workshops, and then if for some reason either of those times don't work, we can do a special, presentation and all those things like that. But because our main thing is to make sure that people get educated, because
Right.
I mean, at the end of the day, it is your money, and you want to know what you're doing with your money and what is, and how it's working for you.
So what kinds of things will they need to log on to this
You
workshop?
got a smartphone?
I was like,
You can use your cell phone.
do they need to know?
No,
Do they need
like-
to know any documentation? Do they need to bring their taxes?
No, it's really just
or-
coming. It's really just coming in for education first, and then when you sit down with me, we are able to really dissect the things that you already have and get you a better understanding. Like, I actually had one client when it came to her retirement plan. She didn't even know when we called them that they hadn't been giving her, like, she had been there for a certain length of time, so they were actually supposed to increase her their portion that they credited. They hadn't did that increase yet, so it was by us doing that extra step to go through and talk to her company to make sure that she understood what she had, and we could be able to explain it to her. That we found out that she wasn't being credited the right thing, and then I've seen many people buy.
Again, the employer is going to take
Yes.
care of the employer.
And then I've seen many people buy life insurance policies, and they don't even know what type they have. They don't know.
Yes.
All they know is I have $100,000 and I'm paying this amount, but you don't even know if it's a term, what type of term it is, what type of permanent insurance. Does it have living benefits? If you have a stroke, will it give you money now? I mean, life insurance has evolved to offer many different things. It's not just for when you die, but how many people know that? So we actually
Right.
have one workshop specifically geared toward life insurance, so you can understand how to read a policy.
Yeah.
Like, because we buy it, you spending money on it, so why don't you need to understand how to read that policy?
And that is so
what you
true
have.
about just educating yourself.
Yeah.
And knowledge is power, people.
It is.
Like, knowledge is power. And knowing, as tedious and harebrained as it is to sit down and think about finances, it really isn't. Like, that's what greases the wheel out there. So, you want to spend that $10 at Starbucks, but know where it's coming from and how it's working for you. Do you
Yeah.
want to fuel your body and get that caffeine rush, or do you want to fuel your bank account
Yes.
and your future
Yeah.
with that? So, and speaking of future, we were having an interesting conversation on millennials, and you had a podcast that you had done previously,
Yes.
the millennials aspect. And so I'm curious the difference between Gen X, baby boomers, and millennial with finances.
Yes, it was. We did a podcast. It was like a couple years ago. I was with. It was still with the same organization, but it was a group of us millennials that we did a podcast that we were on weekly, and we would talk about just a millennial perspective on finances. But now we actually every single week we do workshops presented by millennials. So if you are a millennial or you're not a millennial,
Okay, define
but
a millennial. Give me some dates and some ages
well,
there. 'cause
typically it's like if you're born after
Sounds
1980, you're a millennial or Gen Z, either one of those. So, but I still consider myself. I say I'm a geriatric millennial because I gear more toward the Gen X than I do the actual millennials because of my
I think I'm a
age.
Gen X, and I'm like, no. I'm like, I don't identify with that. I identify with this.
But it's really just about each generation has their thing, and I think millennials and especially Gen Z, they're looking for they want everything quick, fast, and everything like that. But when it comes to savings and really preparing for your future, you're not going to really get it fast. It just really takes consistency and discipline.
So true. With anything, consistency and discipline. And that's interesting. I like where you went with that, with there are so many get rich quick and invest this much and learn how to do this and, become a millionaire or selling on Amazon or wherever. Everything's online. We're moving virtual. So what would you say about people that are considering even like, okay, I've lost my job, I've been laid off. Now what? Like, do I pull out money from my 401k? How do you start that conversation?
So with our organization, we have many people, like I was actually laid off from whenever I started doing financial literacy, I was actually part-time doing this while working a full-time job at a nonprofit hospital. And I was laid off from a nonprofit. So I tell people, don't get fooled by the name. Nonprofits still have to make a profit. So, but I was grateful in the fact that I was already doing this part-time. So it was an easy transition to do this now full-time and make this actually a true career. And which was something I was planning on doing anyway. So when they laid me off, my manager was crying, but I was like, it's okay. It's okay. You're okay.
You're doing me a favor. You got this.
Yeah. So I was like, I'm okay. You know, so it was, I think it's always good to just have that backup plan. And like a lot of people that get laid off that I've saw now, what COVID has allowed them to do is to do the things that they've been wanting to do anyway. And become their own boss. But even becoming your own boss as an entrepreneur, you still need to plan for retirement. So we don't just work with individuals, we work with business owners and everyone, because at the end of the day, at some point, you're going to want to stop doing what you're doing and still be able to earn income. And so if you don't plan now, you would never get there.
Right.
And so that's what our real goal is just to help you understand and at least learn how to build generational wealth, because a lot of us build wealth, but it doesn't go to the next generation. And so if you get this education, your kids can get it. And that's how generational wealth is being built. And old money was once new money. It can start with you, but you got to make that decision. Are you going to do it? Or are you going to wait for your grandkids to make that decision to say, I'm going to make, the buck stops here. And so that's what I want to express with every person that I sit down with, that even though you may not have come from old money, you can start it now, and your kids can be that old money.
Like,
is
there such thing as old money nowadays?
There still is, definitely.
I'm like, no, my parents, they're bound and determined. They're not leaving any. They're taking all of it and spending it. Yeah. It's theirs. They worked for it.
It's theirs. But I want to be, I want to at least say at some point that, I built something for my kids and grandkids, and even my nieces. I have a host of nieces and nephews that I want, to leave a legacy for, and actually be able to teach them different things that I didn't learn, but now I'm learning now.
Education. Yes, education, because knowledge is so powerful, and you don't know what you don't know. Yes. I mean, that goes back to reading your bank statement, reading your policy, reading what you're getting from the 401k from the employer. You know, is your match correct? Are your investments, properly being distributed, and everything in there? So that's all stuff that they can sit down and go through. And we go through
everything. And so with our company, even if I'm not securities licensed to be able to talk about mutual funds and all those things like that, but I have a host of other business partners who that will be able to sit down with you and talk. If you want to talk about mutual funds or IRAs and all those other things like that, we have a lot of my business partners who are licensed to be able to talk to you about that and talk to you about those different types of investment options.
So it's untangle it.
For you to understand it, because so many of us, we invest in things that we don't understand, and then when the investments crumbled, you're like sitting there, and your friend is like, "Well, I told you, but that I didn't."
I'm like, I've been there.
So you don't have anyone to blame but yourself, because you didn't get the proper advice.
Right. So true. So true. I'm like, education. And I love the fact that you just said that they're 2 and 3 and 4 a day. It's not like you have to give up a weekend, guys.
No.
I mean, that's amazing. So, you're home anyway.
Yes, you're home. You're not doing anything. Contact me.
So where can they reach you?
So
and how can they find you?
I am on Facebook by my name, Regina Walker. Instagram is R Walker Financial Educator. And then, of course, you can contact me by phone. And I'll actually say it out since I'm 281-520-5843. You can call me, text me. That is my cell phone. So I'm giving you that out. And you can call me, and I will actually sit down with you, and we can go over those things. Because at the end of the day, you need to know.
Girl, that was brave giving your digits out.
Hey, you found my number, so I know there's a way. Somehow she found it.
There's a way, right? They'll find you.
I know.
And we'll also put a link in the comments on here. So, and on the Edgy Entrepreneur, I have a link to you also.
Awesome.
So yes, you guys, please, I'm like, take the time, get educated, like set some time aside to really get knowledgeable and to plan for your future, because if you're not planning, then you're planning to fail.
Literally, that is part of our presentation. Have you heard our presentation?
I'm like, girl, it's truth. I'm like, you can't get past the truth. I mean, it is.
Yeah.
And then you don't know what you don't know.
Yes.
So you might think, okay, well, and that's another thing. You might think that you're saving enough.
Yes.
And you're putting that, and then you're like, okay, I'm going to save this, and I have this, and, I can't wait. And it's like, oh, no, you got to up that game, or, you've got to do something different, or we need to look at some different options.
And most of us really don't even know our true retirement number. Like, how much money do you really need to adequately retire?
Billions.
Billions. It really just depends on the
billions.
lifestyle that you want to live, but also you need to factor in inflation, because the cost of everything is going up. So
True.
Even if you do get a pension, 20 years from now, what is that pension going to be for you? It's not going to be enough.
Right.
So many times we have people that have to go back to work. It's not because they want to. So when you think about people that retire from even the school districts or any of those things that may get a pension every single month, a lot of them have to go back to work because they don't think about supplementing their retirement and what the things that they need to do now to make sure that they're able to supplement, because it could be an extra $1,000, $2,000 that you may need in extra on top of your pension to make sure that you don't have to go back to work. But if you don't plan, you're not going to get there.
Wow. So we're going to wrap up here.
Okay.
She gave y'all her number. Do y'all want it again? Give it to him again.
Okay, my phone number is 281-520-5843.
That is awesome. You guys, you heard it from Regina Walker. Reach out. Please take some time to really educate yourself. If you're in a pickle, I'm like, we're all in this boat. I mean, we're all in 2020 together, y'all. We're all going into 2020 together. It's nothing to be ashamed of or nothing to worry about. Like, it's a conversation, and you don't know what you don't know. And when you're hiding in fear and not bringing light to what's going on in your finances, then you're just perpetuating that fear and not going anywhere or not growing. So thank you so much.
This
is such a great conversation. You guys, Regina Walker, I'm like the National Literacy Campaign. And yes, I'm like, please reach out and get knowledgeable, like educate yourself, get on one of the Zooms. Here's really quick. Can my daughter jump on?
Yes.
She's 15.
Yes. Okay. Yes. We have kids that come on, and then even, especially those that are maybe 16 and working, and they don't start saving yet, but at least
start them off young.
Yeah, start them off young and get them in that habit of saving. So then that way, whenever they do get to our age, they will have better habits than we did, and they'll know what to do. So educate them now.
Awesome. So educate yourself, educate your kids, and we will be right back with the Edgy Entrepreneur Show.
We work our whole lives to support our families. With one accident or illness, it can all be gone in an instant. Now there's a smart, affordable way to protect your family. Go to findhealthbenefits.com and discover low-cost life insurance for as little as $2 per month. Add to that a tax-deferred annuity that can help you protect your assets and grow your money for retirement. Learn more. Go to findhealthbenefits.com. or call 877-235-6094. A critical illness can strike without warning and wipe out your life savings. In fact, it's the #1 reason for bankruptcy. Find Health Benefits offers an affordable solution. Get up to $50,000 if you get cancer, stroke, or a heart attack, giving you the peace of mind to focus on getting better while the plan helps you to pay your bills and medical expenses. Learn more. Go to findhealthbenefits.com or call 877-235-6094. 66% of seniors spend more time shopping for cable TV than Medicare plans. Most say because it's just too confusing. Laws change every year.
The wrong plan could cost you thousands and prevent you from seeing the doctors you want. Introducing FindHealthBenefits.com. Save time, save money, see specialists without referrals. Go to FindHealthBenefits.com or call 877-235-6094 for this informative brochure.
Society is on the edge. Let's bring them back. Edge Radio. Because truth still matters.
Hello again, my edgy entrepreneurs. Welcome back. Welcome back. We have some switched up guests on you. So we have Tracy Punch is here with Next Audio Visual Productions, and we're going to talk everything digital that we need to know these days, right?
Okay, absolutely.
Like 2020 had kicked us all, made us all stay home, and your conversation that you and I had when we were talking, you were like, I was doing Zoom before Zoom was even cool. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Tracy.
Yeah, so my name's Tracy Punch, born and raised here in Houston. Of course, Houston
Well,
native.
Shepherd, actually, we just found that out. It's a small world.
Yeah, so I started my company. I've worked in the industry for over 20 years and started my company in 2016.
Okay.
I got in the industry in 2000.
Okay. Now, what led you? Where did you come from, and what led you into?
Well, I kind of bounced around. So right out of high school, I worked in the commercial air conditioning industry, right? Houston, Texas. And then I got into radio, broadcasting. I was one of the guys that ran around with the morning show, that particular radio station, and did that stuff. So I was doing the AV professionally even back then, and that was like 96. So did that 96 to 2000, and then got into like the corporate AV and concerts and shows and things like that. So worked for.
That sounds way more fun.
Yeah, it is. It is. I worked for a company for a number of years, and from 2000 to 2016, and then said, you know what, it's time for me to do my own thing.
Right.
And here I sit.
Right. So you decided to branch out on your own. Now, did you have a plan? Like, had you been saving? I'm like, what was that entrepreneurial journey like? You're going to take a leap.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've always had that drive. But, you know, I really got comfortable working at the company I was working at. I was in a really good place. I worked up the ladder and all that good stuff. But things started to change, you know, and no matter how comfortable we get, you never know what the future holds. And so I was, you know, following that certain path of a job and a salary and benefits and all of that, and putting money away, and, you know, thinking about retirement and all that sort of thing. And life threw me a curveball. And so I pretty much found myself in a position to need to do something and trying to figure out what's next for me.
Right. So you took all your experience that you had in the audio video world.
Right.
But you've upped it. Like, it was really interesting. I thought that you do productions. Like, you don't just, what you were saying, you can rent equipment, but your job is to make it a performance and bring it all together.
Yeah, you know, we like to create a show, not just rent someone equipment. You know, there's plenty of companies out there you can go to and rent a couple of speakers and a microphone. You know,
I have a karaoke machine.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I mean, we'll certainly do that, and we're happy to do that if that's what the client's needs are. But we really like to create a show, create an experience. And there's a lot of different facets to AV, and one of the things that COVID has changed is once there was kind of the live event world, and there was a separate like the broadcasting and TV world. Now, what I was saying in our previous conversation, we were in the corporate AV world, we were streaming and doing some things like that, hybrid events, even back in the day, video conferencing and stuff like that.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
2016.
Right.
Back in the day.
Well, no, before that. But, back when we would have to take a video conferencing system and tie it into the AV setup in a ballroom,
Yes.
and use a couple of different high-speed internet lines, which are, kind of dating myself here, but ISDN lines, old technology,
That's
right?
funny. Yes.
So we would make things work, and we were streaming, before it was called streaming, to really put it frankly. And so now, again, COVID has kind of made our industry merge even more so with the broadcast industry.
Yes.
Because we're not just creating an event in a live space for a live audience. We're creating that event sometimes for a live audience, and we're having to capture it and stream it.
Yes.
And capture it on stage in such a way that it looks like a TV program.
Yes.
So,
and that you're there.
yeah.
That you're there.
Yeah.
So I had the opportunity during COVID to be a part of the Tony Robbins, the first virtual UPW, and that was amazing. Yeah. But I can't even give me a little bit of like behind the scenes what you would think he had to do to go through to create something like that. He just has this room. I want to say it's like 3 stories tall. The screen is, and he Zoom like more than 20,000 people on at one time. Yeah. I mean, that's just wild to me.
He put together a pretty good production crew, I'd say, to pull something like that off. And that's really, what you see when you watch any of the music awards and everything nowadays. That's what's happening. I mean, the TV stations and broadcast companies have really embraced, sending out like a remote setup to capture someone in their own environment. And really, whatever it takes, bringing about the technology to allow people and artists and bands to be in different venues around the world and still perform a concert and bring all that in a broadcast television quality fashion to where people can watch it on, broadcast television, or they can stream it live.
Right.
It's really all the same thing. It's whether you're catching it out of the air or over your cable or internet line, going through your TV service or your streaming box, or watching it on, some platform on the internet on your laptop. It's all broadcast at this point.
Okay.
So.
Man, yeah, and we've all had horrible Zoom encounters.
But like talking about the Tony Robbins thing and those kind of productions, companies will spend a lot of money to go into a studio or a building or space and put up massive LED walls, and that's really the thing right now. There used to be hard sets and lighting and stuff like that. Now it's done with moving lights and LED walls, because you can create so much content, and also green screens. You can create so much content and make the background, literally put yourself in whatever background or environment you want with the technology.
We've all played with that, right? I'm like, I'm in outer space on Zoom. I'm like, oh, look at the ocean out my window. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's crazy how the technology is evolving and evolving. Kind of where do you see this going? Like, do you see movies, and I know even that industry, like the film industry, has changed, because don't go to the big movies, and so many independent people are coming up. Is that something that your industry is also are they kind of just merging together, or?
Well, I think my perspective, in my opinion, I think that you're always going to have the television and the movie and film industry. And then you're going to have, live events, and the way the live events world.
It has a different feel for sure, yes. Because you want to be there, but you want to feel a part. And there's that energy that you want. And that's got to be definitely an art to capturing that.
Yeah. So I think that they're gonna remain different and separate, but they're definitely going to cross paths in the future. I definitely think that, streaming and the virtual and hybrid elements are here to stay, the live events industry. Sure. I truly do. Like I said, we were using them occasionally even before, but it wasn't such a demand. The technology was there, but it wasn't such a demand. But now that it's been shoved down the public's throats, everybody's having to embrace it. And now that everybody's comfortable with it, they're going to expect it.
Oh, absolutely. I'm like, even my dad, I'm like, he's 77 and is on Zoom and is able to have conversations. And It really did. Like, it brought our family together during COVID when we couldn't get out and we couldn't go see. You know, we did an Easter egg hunt over Zoom.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're still able to connect with those people that are halfway across the world or even just down the street. One thing I thought was really interesting is you were saying you can go out and film like a rig, like a oil rig or whatever, and use that as a training video.
Yeah.
And then set up the production so that when they're doing their banquet or their corporate event or whatever, then you've taken that movie that you've built for them or the training video and you're showing that to the whole audience. So, I mean, you set up everything from creating the video and gathering that content all the way to banquet, like black tie and ball attire, like productions.
That's correct. Yeah. So, I mean, we can take the full production from concept to creation, as we like to say. We can.
That was so much better put than the way I put it. I like concept to creation. There you go, y'all.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, we can help a client decide what they want to do and help them implement it, from a marketing strategy to, you know, launching a product to, you know, a training video. And that's what we're talking about. You know, we can send a camera crew out to capture whatever footage and imagery that they want. We can take that stuff back, edit it, create the content, and turn around and show that content at their next live event or virtual event, you know, with current times being what they are.
Yeah.
So that's just another service that we offer, you know, not just about, again, we're not just a rental company to pick up some equipment and do an event. You know, we can help you with the content of that event as well as the execution.
Very cool. Now, how have you seen that change for you in 2020? Like, as an entrepreneur and a business owner, how did your world change when everything shut down?
Well, you know, it was devastating. You know, I was really looking forward to 2020 being a big year for me. You know, since it started on my own, things have been going in the right direction. And 2020 was just going to be another step in the right direction.
It's like 2020 vision. Everybody had that 2020 vision.
Yeah. We started to see things clearly for sure, but wasn't what we thought.
I like that. We did start to see things clearly.
Yeah, it wasn't exactly what we thought. So, you know, it was a big struggle for me though. But it did force me, and I think a lot of other people and companies, to reinvent ourselves. To dig deep and figure out, okay, do I want to stay in this industry or do I need to get into something else? You know, can I sustain it? And people had to do a lot of different things to make ends meet that might not necessarily be what they want to do, but it was kind of what they had to do.
Right.
You know, I think I've been very, very blessed. I've done a whole lot of praying the last year trying to figure things out. And I think I'm on the right track. You know, things are starting to pick back up. The phone's starting to ring. Until there's more public confidence with the vaccine and kind of with the politics, and that things just kind of start to level out, I think, you know, we'll start to see some activity picking back up in the live events industry.
Absolutely. Already, even. I mean, I noticed my neck of the woods, people are playing in May events.
Yeah.
I'm like, yes, let's go live in May, please. So, you guys, on that note, we will come back after this short break and we will continue our conversation with Tracy Punch with audio, video, and production, and kind of what it looks like and how we can get good at it and how important it really is if we want to promote ourselves in our industry. Okay. So, you guys, we will be right back after this short break.
Are you a small business owner concerned about the downturn in the economy? Top business leaders like Mattress Mac and Warren Buffett will tell you that now is the time to promote your business more than ever. People need your services. Your business needs an edge. Learn about special advertising packages for small businesses right here on Edge Radio. Find out more, give us a call at 281-744-0446. That's 281-744-0446. Edge, because truth still matters.
Edge Radio TV is holding auditions for new show hosts. Are you a subject matter expert, professional, influencer, book author, thought leader, or business owner with an educational or motivational platform? Then we want to meet you. Send a link of some of your work to edgeradio20@gmail.com and be sure to put audition in the subject line. Join the Edge Radio TV family. Edge TV, because truth still matters.
Welcome back, my Edgy Entrepreneurs. We are here with my special guest, Tracy Punch, and we are talking all things audio, visual, publication, from creation to content to creation. And when we left, before we went to break, we were talking about kind of 2020 and what that looked like and how you had to pivot. How has that industry changed? And now that we're kind of coming back around, how has it changed in your industry in the last year? And what are some things that small business owners and individuals themselves can do to really help and promote themselves so that they're staying relevant in this time and they're staying in front of their audience? Because their audience isn't going out and going shopping maybe like they were. So they really need to be front and center in their face. So kind of what does that look like now?
Well, I would say do your best to reach out to your clients if you have a client base, social media, content. You know, I used to not be super big on social media, at least not for my company in a way that I thought. Like I would post certain things, but what I realized is sometimes you can just capture a simple picture of your setup. It doesn't have to be this perfect ballroom shot, everything framed and all of that, you know. So just use different things to stay in front of, you know, your client base as much as you can, and social media is part of that. So I would say that's probably the best thing to stay relevant. And, you know, again, following up with clients, reach out to them, just show you care, be genuine.
Be genuine.
It goes a long way.
Absolutely, it does. Now, what kind of industries do you work with? Like, what is are you mainly just big productions, or?
We touch it all, and that's the neat thing about doing what I do. We work with Fortune 500 companies. We work with companies out of the other countries. We work with companies all over the U.S., nonprofits, again, corporations, you know, you name it. A myriad of people will need AV services at some scale,
right?
Whether it be an installed equipment in their boardroom or their facility. Houston Police Department, you know, they have conferences. They have, you know, you'd never think about it, but everybody.
Little things that you don't think about. Well, even when we were talking about you went out to the offshore rig and did that and then put it together, I was like, that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, so there's the videography side of things. There's the content creation side of things. There's the live event and the rental of the equipment.
Okay.
The labor to make all this happen.
So you take care of all that, from going out and filming it, cutting it, and then even the content creation aspect of it.
Yep.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
As well as permanent installations in your boardroom or your studio or even your home.
Nice.
Yeah. So there's the installation side, and then there's the live event side, and of course.
So you have like
tons of things.
Badass man cave, is what you're telling me, right?
I have a modest AV system at home. It's not what you think, though. You know, I don't have, you know, the
your seats don't rumble.
Yeah, you know, I don't have the remote controls. You touch it and the drapes open and close and all that craziness. But
yeah, I don't need all of that. No, my TV doesn't come on that much. I'm like, it's mainly a computer screen nowadays, or a phone screen, really.
I have a nice simple system and a single remote control that drives everything. Like that's the key thing. If you got too many remotes, you're doing something wrong.
Did y'all hear that? I'm like, Mom, Dad, if y'all have too many remotes, you're doing something wrong.
They even have remotes with really big buttons. That helps.
Oh, there you go. No, I'm always looking for one or another. I'm like, okay, the cable, TV, this, whatever. So no, I need some of this in my world for sure to get everything tied in.
Live events are my passion. You know, and a lot of it's just seeing that ooh and ah effect when a client and their guests walk into a ballroom and it just looks amazing. We turn that space from plain walls into something totally different and all of that.
Totally different. So do you work with the banquet for drapes and design, like all of that? You do.
Yeah, we bring all of that in as well. I mean, we
okay,
again, total
okay.
show. We do everything but the tables and chairs, and we can do that if we need to.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Yeah,
so
tents,
you're
I mean,
like,
we could do a concert in a field with nothing. Bring in generators, lighting, the whole 9 yards.
I think we should challenge him to that.
If you're into production, you should be able to do it all. And I have the resources. Wow. I've been doing this a long time.
Yes. So 2016 is how you got into this. How has your business changed, would you say, in the last, from 2016? How have you grown?
I left the company that I was working with, and I didn't, I had an idea of what I wanted to do, but that idea was to basically be like a producer. And how it's changed is I started having to, as I was renting a lot of equipment to make these events happen in that producer role,
right?
I saw that it just made sense for me to own certain equipment. So
find a need, fulfill a need.
Exactly.
Yep.
So then I started to buy equipment. So then it cut down on my cross rentals. And again, when I first jumped out there, I didn't want to be an equipment rental house. I wanted to be a production company.
And I love that when in our conversation, you were very passionate about that of, I don't just want to rent some equipment out and you go and do your own thing. You want to be there. Like you want to make this an experience for them and for their audience and for their guests.
Yeah. Yeah, and that way I can guarantee more satisfaction of the equipment that I do send out there. Because you send gear out, you don't know what kind of condition it's going to come back in. And then, find out the client had a bad experience. And that's just a whole nother thing that I like to be more in control of. I just choose to not have that, not to act on that business model.
Right. No, that's so smart. It really is. And I love that. I'm like, that is what the Edgy Entrepreneur is all about, is find a need, fill a need. Yeah. And that's what you did.
I think you have to be open to change, to be flexible. You can start off with something and have the best plan, and it's great to have a plan, but life changes. And sometimes that plan needs to be flexible.
Yes, we've all learned that, right? We've all learned how to pivot. If not, that we need to be flexible and things need to be fluid. So awesome. Where do you see 2021 going? Kind of how do you see those live events? I know a lot of them are coming back, but so many of them. Like, I so appreciate now that I can sit at home and be a part of a live, 3-day event in my own home and in my own living room. Do you see that it's around for good? Like, that's not going anywhere.
Yeah. I think that, like I said, live events will come back as soon as the public confidence is restored, and then we'll start to see more events in ballrooms with large gatherings of people closer together. But again, the live stream thing is here to stay, so it's just kind of a matter of embracing that and finding ways to implement that into your event and your project, and have fun with it, because it's not going anywhere. But it might not be for everybody.
Have fun with it. Yes, that is for sure. Have fun with it. Absolutely. So kind of who is your ideal market? If you were going to talk to anybody out here and say, okay, if you're doing this, I call Tracy Punch because he will hook you up.
Corporate events, galas, festivals, fundraisers.
Very cool.
Those types of things.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how do they find you? Where would they find you?
Website, nextavproductions.com. We are also on Facebook and LinkedIn, and we have an Instagram profile as well.
Nice. And they can see pieces of your work and awesome.
Yeah, we've done some cool things for some clients over the years, and I try to take lots of photos and put a lot of that stuff up there. Probably a little too much, but
Hey, there can never be too much information. So I'm like, Regina's numbers out there from our last segment. So
and big things to little things. It doesn't always have to be a big, huge production that requires several truckloads of gear and all of that sort of thing. It could just be a couple of monitors on stands, to show a car video or something like that in the car dealership. I mean, again, it's all kinds of people that utilize AV services, for events and things like that. Even people having parties in their backyards.
Right.
So, I mean, it's just kind of.
I want that kind of backyard party.
Calls can come from anywhere. It's just a matter of what the client's need is.
Very cool. Well, awesome. You guys, this has been so beautiful today and such a great conversations with you and my previous guest, Regina Walker. And it turns out it really is a small world. Both of y'all are from Shepherd, Texas. So,
well, actually, I'm from Houston. My dad
he's
is
from Houston.
Shepherd.
Okay,
Yeah,
his dad family is from Shepherd. Nice, interesting. So, yes, thank you again. You are watching the Edgy Entrepreneur Show on Edge Radio TV. I'm your host, Jen Coleman-Ayers. You can find me at Jen Coleman-Ayers on Instagram, on Facebook, on here. I will be here every Tuesday or Thursday at 10 o'clock to have this conversation about being an edgy entrepreneur and what that really looks like in this day and age out there. So until then, go out and be the change that this world needs.